Let me introduce myself. My name is Liz Blodgett, and I am currently office manager at Wesleyan Potters in Middletown, Connecticut. I am also one of the kids' pottery teachers as well. This job has a lot of activities involved. There are many hats that I wear. Anything from taking money for classes, putting together contracts for teachers, making sure that the schedule is adhered to. We have a lot of studios here. We have weaving, pottery, jewelry, and we have a lot of events. So one of my roles is to coordinate and make sure that studio space is filled and not overbooked. Also, I help with students, in trying to figure out what class they want to take or what instructor they want to try. When I first came to Wesleyan Potters, I came on a date. I walked in, it was in between annual sale and not quite the start of the winter classes. When I walked in the building, I took a look around and I said, this is a place I could see myself. I really had wanted, I was an art teacher before coming here. I taught elementary art actually overseas for many years and had just finished up a master's in art education. Wasn't quite sure where I wanted to go with it. I enjoy it because you're always interacting with creative people. You're always trying to help them get into classes, or you're helping instructors do the best job they can, getting feedback, making sure the studio is in good shape, making sure all the tools are in good shape, and basically, offering classes that, you hear people discuss. I wish we had a class on Mayolica, and so, finding a teacher for that, and so broadening people's creative lives is what I like most about this. What's tough about this job, sometimes the pace of it gets pretty hectic. Like I said, we have jewelers, we have potters, we have weavers, sometimes we have a fundraising event, sometimes we have staff that get sick and you have to fill in for them. So it's a balancing act. It really is. And so things might be required at a faster pace, and you just have to take a breath and, problem solve. One of my favorite stories, like I said, this particular job, you meet a lot of very creative people. Some of our members have been members here for years and years, and to be able to not only teach younger kids, which was my past, but also to learn from our experienced craftspeople, because they're like a library of knowledge. So daily interaction with people like that is one of my favorite things. I grew up with very crafty people, but they would never call themselves craftsmen. My father was a restoration carpenter. My mother could sew, could cook, could flower arrange, could garden, but they would never identify as artistic people. And for them, a life and a career in the arts sounded, they would always bring up the starving artist. They didn't want their daughter to starve. And me being, I was so interested in the arts all of my life that I didn't have a lot of direction. And I couldn't see myself as being like a painter full-time or being a printmaker full-time. I didn't want that kind of solitary life. What I ended up, and it's been a very circuitous path. Some people know what they're going to be their whole life and go for it. I took a very roundabout turn. My first degree, I went to GW and I was studying international politics. I was in Naval ROTC. I was not studying art because I thought that was a practical choice for me. I thought several years in the military, I could travel and go overseas because I really wanted to travel. I thought that was the more practical decision. I found out that's not where my passion lies, and that's not where my attention was. So I took a year off from school. I finally applied to art school at the advice of my best friend's mom, who said, you know, art school may not be a practical choice for most people, but if that's where your strength lies, that is your practical choice. So I ended up with a BFA in art education, in painting and printmaking, and became a teacher, which is a pretty practical choice. I went overseas, so I got to travel. So all the things that I wanted to achieve, traveling and education and arts, all those interests, you need to really follow your interests, and maybe in ways that you didn't anticipate. Sometimes I think we all assume we have the same value system, and we don't. And there's no wrong or right to value systems, but my values, I don't value a high paycheck as much as I did when I was younger. It was more important to me when I was younger because, you know, I had accrued a lot of student debt. I had to pay it off. I wanted to travel, so you need money to do those kinds of things. So when I went overseas because those were high-paying jobs. I went for the adventure, but I went for the paycheck. And it was great because saving that money away gave me the freedom to make a decision to work for a nonprofit here in Connecticut. You know, it's not the greatest paying job. It is not, but it pays me in other aspects. So one of my core values, I want to pay my bills. I want some security, but I also have been reminded that security can be an illusion. So you really, I want to go for my most, what would I do with the rest of my life if I had, you know, if the clock is ticking. In 5 years, I would like to be more service. I want to kind of extend my influence and invite more people and engage more people in the Middletown area. And that requires being a little braver and putting it as a priority to network and get out of my comfort zone. So that's a priority. 2 is on an individual level, again, being brave and, entering more art shows, networking, self-identifying more as an artist. So I would like to do that within the next, 5 years or so, go out of my comfort zone. And I think we have to, was it Eleanor Roosevelt says, do something scary every day. I think if you stop doing scary things, you have a tendency to get stale and to age. And I don't want to do that. So take ownership of what you're doing in your life, even if it means you're working for another company or another organization. Internalize it. This is yours. This is your life. This is your passion. So you take, in this case, I was taking a smaller, paycheck. Why would I do such a thing? Because I believe in this organization. Because I believe Wesleyan Potters, it's been around since 1948. It has been going through, many changes as key members change and as trends in education change. So I believe in the growth of the place and the organization. I would say, if you're not sure what you want to do, try a couple jobs out. Figure out what you don't want. Figure out what you didn't think you would like and you end up liking. So try a lot of things. Every job you take, make sure that you're learning and going to take something away from that. And it goes way beyond your paycheck. What kind of skills? Are they people skills? Are they technical skills? Is it the networking that you're doing? Because every person you're going to interact with, could help you down the line. And they could be informing you on what you want to do next. So listen, listen to that thing, that voice in your head. Think about when you're a little kid. I took a life planning seminar once, and one of the exercises was, remember what you used to do when you played, when you were little. What kinds of things did you play? Because that will typically kind of direct you to where you're passionate. Whether you played, as teacher, whether you played, I remember my dad having it was a Rolodex, and I used to love to play with the Rolodex. Well, now I'm an office manager of a creative place, and yes, I have my own Rolodex, except now they're like antiquated. Think about the things, do you like organizing? Do you love people? Do you prefer, not to work with people? This is all good information. I never would have thought that I would want to be a salesperson. I always thought that was not an attractive job. But can I sell this? Yes, because I believe in it. So you really have to kind of find home, and instead of saying, definitely I don't want to do this, try it. And you'll kind of get a sense of your own energy. Do you feel excited about what you're doing, even if it's tough, or if you've had a bad day? You still want to come back and take a crack at it. So.